Hi everyone, and good morning to all of you who are in the Pacific Canada, and good afternoon to all of you who are in Eastern Canada. Today I'm going to talk about bones. So this month we talk about anatomically how we can help our body, regardless of with what disease it's been diagnosed, and what can we do for overall health of our body when the tissues and the bones and the liquids improve their quality and their ability to deliver better service to the body. Then the symptoms of our chronic condition are disappearing, and that is how we create health. Today I'm going to talk about bones, and I might repeat myself here and there because I'll mention exercise in the beginning, at the end, but I will try to deliver different information each time. And because the information is enormous, just accept it that these are block of informations and you take for yourself whatever you feel that works for you. So I have notes and etc. I'll be looking to the site. I hope this won't disturb you. So why I wanted to talk about bones today. Our bones go under physiological and real deterioration, mechanical deterioration, not that the physiological is not real. And also because there is a silent crippler, and this is the osteoporosis. I will mention osteoporosis many times, but you don't forget to think about osteoarthritis and other osteo diseases which we humans get. Osteoporosis is for both men and women. It is more spread amongst women, and the reason is that on average men have 25% more muscle and bone mass, and the reason for that is that testosterone, this is the male sex hormone, which stimulates bone and muscle growth. Women also produce testosterone. This is a very important hormone for us, but we produce very, very little. And on the contrary, men produce quite a lot. So men's body is bigger, and it's normal to have more muscle mass and more bone mass. I want to tell you that there is a report of the Surgeon General in 2004, I think, where it says that over 10 million Americans over the age of 50, mostly women, have osteoporosis, and another 34 million of Americans have low bone density, which means after a certain age that can turn into osteoporosis if it's not attended with different lifestyle changes, so it doesn't turn into osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is very insidious because you cannot feel or see that it is happening. Osteoporosis leads to fracture, to broken bones, and especially broken hip bones, which is the most disturbing part. Broken hip bones, back bones, I know other bones break like wrists and etc., but this is the most disturbing part. Why? Because around the hip bones is where the colon resides. As soon as your colon changes position, it changes function. As soon as other organs in the hip, around the pelvic floor and hip area, change the position, their function changes, and they are not that accessible for liquids that heal them, that nourish them, and they start getting stagnated. They're suffering, and then we have inflammations, and then we have diseases, because also bacteria, worms, fungi starts residing where it's not their place, where liquids cannot get to them to clean them. So that's why the hips health is extremely important. Also, I want to tell you that when the posture changes while we're aging, we tend to go a little bit forward, and there are other changes in the postures, like twisting of the entire body, which is very disturbing. That changes also the position of our organs in the body, and that means that we're losing the optimum position in which each organ is at certain level, and each organ can function with its optimum energy, and means that each organ is healthy. Also, when the colon changes its place, we have changes in the elimination. So I talk a lot about that. You know that the digestive system is extremely important for our health, and working with me, I monitor people's stools. I need feedbacks from them about their stools. So if this changes, then we have very serious problems. So I would like to start with a few myths about osteoporosis, and not only osteoporosis, but bone health, bone density. And the first myth is that osteoporosis is an old lady disease. This is absolutely untrue, because there are a lot of reasons, which I will read to you right now, that we can develop osteoporosis. As a matter of fact, I'm reading a book on bone health right now, and the lady says that 27 years old, 37 years old have been diagnosed with osteoporosis or insufficient bone density. And here are some reasons why this is happening. First of all, is the unfortunate thing of having another medical condition that depletes the nutrients, that challenges the immune system, and that leads to bones to be more brittle. I will give you an example in our family. My mother broke her leg 4 years ago, and that leg would not heal for 2 months. And every time I call to my native country and I ask, what's happening? Can she already, it's been 2 months, put weight on the food? No, she's bedridden and nothing is happening. It's not healing. So then it occurred to me, I said, explain to me, how did it happen? Well, she was under the shower, she dropped her soap, she squatted to reach the soap, and she broke her leg. My mother was not diagnosed with osteoporosis. She had tests. They had that it might come very soon because the density is less, but they don't see osteoporosis. And when I heard how did it happen, I said to my father, I am buying the ticket now, because I knew that there is a disease in the body. I wasn't sure that it was cancer, but I knew that most probably this is cancer that leads also to brittle bones. So one of the reasons why the bones are brittle and the density is less and less is that you can have underlying disease or just severe inflammation that depletes the body, and the bone cannot produce, because the bone reproduces tissue, it renews itself. Then it's the heavy drinking. Drinking is very dangerous for the body. Smoking, I've times, because what smoking does, it makes your arteries walls thicker, and the place through the tunnel through which the blood circulates gets smaller and smaller. In this case, the blood cannot deliver enough nutrients through the body into the cells. And I'm not saying that the blood pressure changes and all other things. Then we have genes, and here I want to tell you, it's not necessary that if you have the genes for something, they will procreate in your body. Many genes can be, I call it silencing through lifestyle changes, but sometimes they might not be. And this happens often. There are genes tests where they discover which genes are the ones that you have to watch out, what lifestyle changes you have to make in order to keep those genes silent, so they don't open up, they don't start giving you troubles. And for some genes, sometimes people got on pills, like sometimes inherited cholesterol. It might happen. With the lifestyle changes, some people get a very low dosage of cholesterol, pill against cholesterol, which is the worst thing we go through, but we have to choose which is the best to be done to protect the cardiovascular system, or because those pills have side effects on joints and bones, or to sacrifice a little bit of bone and joint to have some pain, stagnation in movement. And this is something for your doctor and yourself to figure out. Then we have low body weight. This is very interesting. The low body weight means less pressure on the bones. I want to tell you that the bone, in order to regrow and become denser, it needs to be challenged. When we exercise and do heavy training, for instance, we have the muscles that tug the bone. So they stimulate the bone, so the bone becomes denser, because the bone knows, as the muscle knows when we exercise them heavy, that next time when we try to do that same exercise that is so heavy and difficult, they have to rebuild in order to we can go through that movement. And this is very, very important thing. You know that the muscles are attached to the tendons to the bones. The tendons have a few attachments usually to a bone, and when the muscle is challenged and it's contracted, it tugs the bone, and then the bone says, okay, I have to become denser and stronger because they will do this to me again, and I have to be able to keep her straight up. So then we have menopause. The menopause is related to low estrogen levels. This is something that also comes with malnutrition. It's not just the menopause. Estrogen is a sex hormone, and yes, it drops down after the menopause. That's why many people go through hormonal therapy. But estrogen also can be controlled and improved with herbs, which I will be talking at the end about that. During the menopause also you have kind of a stagnation and kind of malnutrition of the body due to the hormonal changes, and due to the fact that the body cannot deliver to the cell those nutrients which the body needs to rebuild itself. And I hear many times people say, oh, now I'm getting older, I will eat less meat, or I will eat less of this, of that. You need nutrient-dense food in order to go through this process. I'm not saying to overeat, to stuff yourself with protein or fat or anything. No, to eat enough but nutrient-dense food. Then we have age. I a little have a problem with this for the reason age doesn't mean worse health. Usually with the age, the body wears out. a lot of, because we beat up this body, right? We train like maniacs, we work till late, we don't sleep well, we live under enormous stress, and that makes the body more stagnant, slower to rebuild, and etc. We don't eat dense food, I mean dense on nutrients. And that's why they say that age, but this is to each person. Then we have a calcium deficiency. Here I would like to say that bones are built not only from calcium. The calcium is 38%. Bones have 17% phosphorus. They have sodium, potassium, magnesium, and other minerals. The majority of people know more about calcium and talk about calcium and want to deliver to the bone only the calcium, but in this lecture I will explain to you that this is not the only important mineral which has to be delivered. Another thing is the fracture history. Very often we have fractured bones that they don't recover entirely. For instance, I have a fracture on my tailbone, which I monitored for a while from a horseback riding accident. And now it's okay, but when I exercise, sometimes it just knocking and it's telling me, I'm just as you know that I'm here. So this can be something that can lead to osteoporosis and less density of this part of the bone, because that bone did not recover 100% due to the fact that nutrients cannot get to nourish it so the bone can rebuild itself. Hyperthyroidism, yes, this can happen as well. I see somebody. Yes, the thyroid gland is extremely important gland in our body, and it controls a lot of processes in the body. And I would like you to really take care of your thyroid, check your thyroid hormones, feed the thyroid, and make sure that the other glands that work directly with the thyroid are properly attended by a doctor, checked, and etc. Not exercising regularly. I mentioned already why the bone needs exercise. The reason that the muscle tugs the bone and it forces it to rebuild. And being confined to a bed due to a disease, yes, that can happen too. Actually, I wanted to tell you that as soon as you are confined to a bed, you start losing muscle mass, you start losing bone mass, and this is very unfortunate, because the recovery depends on your age. The percentage of the recovery depends on your age. I remember when I was working with people with cancer, I was performing bed exercises for them, movements in the bed. So make sure that the fluids go through the body and they don't lose as much as if they wouldn't move in bed. This is very, very important. I want to say a few things about the other myths. The second is that after menopause, women can prevent osteoporosis by consuming calcium fortified foods and beverages and taking calcium supplement. I will not stay long here in this theme because it's very controversial. If you listen to big specialists, there are usually two spectrums of beliefs. Some say that there is absolutely no research that absolutely states that dairy products are dangerous, on the contrary, dangerous for you, that the calcium from the dairy products is not absorbed. So I'm not gonna get into that argument. I just want to deliver a little bit of information. So many women religiously drink milk, take calcium fortified cereals, take calcium supplements just to be sure. If a woman are premenopausal, extra calcium can help them build extra bones. This is true, but simply upping the calcium intake, it won't lead anywhere, because it had never shown that can increase bone density. There is no research that can prove this for sure. But if you add vitamin D to that calcium, yes, you can help increasing bone density. I want to tell you that the human body is so complex, and we're still learning things, and it's impossible to know everything about all the processes in the human body, because they are not only complex, but they're changeable. When your state changes, when you go through chronic health condition or other peaks and falls of the health in your body, the processes inside change. And I absolutely don't pretend that I know it all, but we need to know the major things that are happening in the body. We need to be aware of the base, which helps us to be healthy. And the effects are dramatic when you add vitamin D to your calcium. Your bone density can increase significantly, and the fractures can actually be reduced by 50%. And I want to tell you that I used to take, for a certain period of time, vitamin D3 with K2. Those two have to be together in order to work really well in your calcium absorption, to help your calcium absorption. There is another myth that walking is the best exercise for preventing and treating osteoporosis. As someone who taught exercises and studied exercises for all my life, I want to tell you that walking is great. Walking is the last movement that the baby learns when the body innervates, learns to move, to walk, to get up and down. The gait is the most complicated movement in the human body. It is great to attend it with your attention. It is great to do walking, but it will very little help for osteoporosis unless you've been a lifelong walker. If you had this habit for the whole life, we might consider that your probability of bone fracture would be 30% less. Even 1 year of walking will not change that much your bone density. So I'm not saying that it's a waste of time or something. No, walking, especially in the mountain, it's amazing. But it has to be combined with weight training. I'm sorry that I have to say that. Some people hate to hear it, but weight training is miraculous exercise approach for our health. There is another myth, number 4, that when you lost bone, you can never recover it. I disagree with this. Bone is tissue, and it's like any other tissue in the body, and like any other fluid in the body, which can recover. Bone also recover. It's just a different type of tissue. The osteopaths are calling it a tissue, and I think they're totally right. Actually, there is a lot of research, and I know of one where they, for only 2 weeks, they did weight training and proper nutrition with adults that are over 70, and they got 17% of bone recovery, increasing of the density, only for 2 weeks of properly recommended weight training. So yes, bone can recover unless you have some disease, some inflammation, and one of those I told you in the beginning, like genes, menopause, low estrogen, low body weight, fractures and stuff like that, then it's more difficult, but it's not impossible. When we talk about the bone remodeling, I want to tell you that if you look under the microscope, it looks like a busy construction site. That's the way our bones remodel. And you have cells that take away bone, the old cells, the cells that are not productive in the bone, and other cells that arrive to rebuild it. The health of our bones absolutely depends on this process. They're very, very important. And there are mature cells that dissolve the old bone and they create a cavity. Then this cavity will fill with collagen, and the crystals of calcium and other minerals, I mentioned magnesium, phosphorus, are drawn into the collagen to form the new bone tissue. So as you see, you need quite a lot of material, not only the calcium. That's why I absolutely request my clients to prepare themselves their own bone broth and to drink it every day. So I mentioned the estrogen, and I would like to say a few things about the estrogen. The estrogen is a sex hormone, but it's related to the bone density. How it's related to the bone density, what happens is the bone structure has receptors for the estrogen to go inside and do some job. So that's why it relates to the bone density. Usually hormones, they're helping processes in the body. That's the way you should imagine them. So that's why the menopause affects the bone density, because naturally the body lowers the estrogen levels. And another thing I would like to mention, when people are aging, people say if they don't change their weight, say, oh, I have a belly now, I have this pouch around me now. It is not that they have a belly now, it's because the structure of the entire body changed, and now instead of being upright, I'm going to show it to you from the book, they now hunch, and everything, organs and the extra fat goes in the abdomen. And see here in the picture, that's what I mean. When the weight is the same, but people say, okay, I now have a pouch, I now have a belly. It's because of the structural change. That's why exercise is crucial. As you can see, we just can't run away from it. No way. What are the 3 major factors that determine the bone mass? First of all, I said, is the estrogen, because it stimulates building bone. I want to suggest here 2 herbs for keeping your hormonal balance, during and after the menopause, and this is vitex and wild yam. Vitex comes with the little fruits. You can soak it in cold water and drink it afterwards. I soaked it for 24 hours. They normalize the hormonal balance in the body. And the wild yam, they produce cream. It's called Anna's Wild Yam Cream. It's Australian cream. I suggest to my clients to get the original. Right now they have problems with the delivery, but I hope everything will be all right soon. You put the cream somewhere in your arm or in your tummy, and this way the wild yam is doing its work to normalize the hormones. Then we have stress and depression. There is a lot of researches that show that stress and depression relate to the bone. The reason why we have a lot of cortisol in circulating in the body while we are stressed or depressed, and the body goes to into a catabolic mode. Catabolic means breaking down the tissue. That's why breaking down any tissue, including bone tissue, the body pulls a lot of resources from those tissues in order to survive when it is under stress. It gets in a catabolic mode. Anabolic is when we rebuild the body. Then the second one is, of course, a major factor that determines the bone mass is the physical activity. I said a few things about exercise. I said that the muscle tugs the bone and gets the bone to produce and regain strength. An example I would like to give you here, you know that the astronauts, they recover. And how do they recover? Through the movement. When they are in space, there is not much movement occurring, they're floating, right? There is no pressure under the bone, there is no tugging on the bone, and they lose bone mass, they lose muscle mass, and etc. When they come here on Earth, there is pressure from sitting, staying, and the bone starts recovering and the muscle reproducing in order to serve the body. That's what our body wants to do. We have dreams to pursue, and our body wants to serve us in order to be alive and to have enough energy to pursue our dreams. And I want to say that inactivity dissolves bones. Then we have nutrition. You know very well that nutrition has to be according to your metabolic type. Nutrition has to be dense, like dense in nutrients. It has to have varieties, colors, and we need also to have vitamins and minerals. I prefer to work a lot with herbs because it's not arguable. Every research, first of all, researcher, that we have to take our nutrients from the food, first of all, and then to add supplements if something is missing. So nutrition is very important from this point of view. And then because the herbs, they are nutrition. They're plants. It's just something we haven't used to. I want to say a few things about bone density. Our bone density is at its highest after the summer. Guess why? Vitamin D, sun. And is its lowest at the end of the spring. When you have bone density test, you must have it at the same date each year. The difference in the bone density can be between 3 and 4%, which can be quite a lot because your bones, I don't think they deteriorate 3 or 4% a year. We would have a big problem if it's so. So you have to make sure that the test is done as accurate as possible. A very important why this is important. We need to know the bone density, and we need to do all what I talked about so far, because first of all, the spinal bones, the vertebrae, are tiny formations. They're very fragile. Once you fracture a spinal bone, it's very difficult to control the entire body. Everything changes in the rearrangement of the body, how it functions, because the vagus nerve, also the main nerve of the body that controls the entire body, goes inside those tiny formations. And if you have a fracture, that fracture can compress nerves or even the vagus nerve. Dieting history might reflect negatively on bone density and on your health later in life. I mean, eating disorders, if you have been a yo-yo dieter, this can reflect quite badly on the bone density. If you're doing this now, please stop doing it. Find your metabolic type, make sure you know which foods are good for you, test it, see if what works, what doesn't work, and then make sure that you take preventatively some herbs, maybe some supplementation as well, because when you arrive at older age, where I'm now 53, you will have an easier life and more pleasant life. You will be stronger than the majority of people, unfortunately, and your aging process will go way slower. Okay. So when we talk about exercise, I want to mention exercise for balance, very important, because you know after 70, 80, people start getting very fragile, in a sense that they lose balance and they have a lot of falls, they break or fracture bones, and this is no good. I have a broad experience working with seniors when I was an aerobics instructor and everything instructor, group fitness instructor. I worked a lot with seniors. We designed classes especially for a certain age. There were classes for people with cardiovascular problems as well. And we had to give them certain type of exercises to maintain very good health, bone density, good muscle mass, in order for them, when I was in Montreal, it was very slippery 6 months of the year. When they go outside and they live their life, and when they slide, they don't fall down. They have enough muscle and bone and strength to hold into it until they know what to do and how to save themselves from a slippery sidewalk, for instance. We also trained a lot of proprioception. I must tell you, I had people over 80s and they were in amazing shape, but they were at the gym every day, working with me and my colleagues. Weight-bearing aerobic activity, first of all, for the weight, because the body needs, in order to build muscle and to rebuild the bone, it needs to handle weight. If it's a just body-bearing activity, it doesn't produce that result. And also, if it's aerobic activity, the body bears more weight, because I'm not saying jumping with weights. When you have jumping, shaking and stuff like that, the bones and the joints take more weight than when you're seated on when you're walking. So that also helps in bone density. And yeah, strength training, I said about that. I would like to tell to those of you who believe that the dairy is a good source of calcium and health for your bones. Heart-aged cheese is the best, is the preferred, because it has more calcium. Now, if my naturopathic doctor hears me, he will kill me. It doesn't allow us to eat cheese and dairy. He's very much against it because after 22 we don't have enzymes to absorb calcium from dairy. So, but there is a research also that I said in the beginning, there is no very firm research that says no dairy at all. That's why I want to stay balanced and I never push my clients to extremes because we don't know. So whey or watery liquid around the cheese, if you have mozzarella or you have feta or you have yogurt, that watery liquid around is whey. It's very good for you. I suggest you to drink it. And of course, fruits and vegetables. The body absorbs some minerals from the fruits and the vegetables. At the same time, I would like to warn you that excess protein, caffeine, sodium, they increase the loss of calcium through the urine. When I say eat your protein, I'm not saying stuff yourself. I'm repeating myself, yeah. When I say you can have one coffee, ideally I would like you to replace the coffee with, in the group there is a acorn recipe for replacement for coffee. I mean very little when I allow coffee to my clients. When you get sodium, soda drinks and etc. as well, sodium is salt, I refer to salt as well. Eat the right salt. Salt is good for us, but you have to have the right amount and the right salt. And of course, we said that it's better to get nutrients from food than from pills. And in this sense, I would like to tell you a few things about recipes for bone health from herbs. The herb that is called bone knit, this is comfrey, and I'm taking comfrey. Comfrey you can take while you're pouring boiling water over it and let it soak for about 15-20 minutes and take it throughout the day. We take herbs on an empty stomach between meals. So this is a herb that not necessarily will increase the bone densities, but it will improve the quality of your bone. And because it's called the bone knitter, when you have fracture in the bone, it helps to rebuild. So comfrey is the one. There is a herb that is called bone set. It has nothing to do with bones. It is herb that is being given for fevers, colds, asthma. Actually, there was an influenza one time that was called breakbone fever. And that's why they named this herb bone set, but it has nothing to do with it. Another thing I will tell you, for osteoporosis, I want to mention only the vitamin D amounts we should take. For people over 50 years and old, it's between 400 and 600 units IU per day. And I know some people take more. I've never heard that there is toxification from taking too much vitamin D. I've never looked for research because also my naturopathic doctor told me that he had never seen a research, so it was him. And this is the amount. For calcium, the amount for people over 50 is 1000 milligrams per day. And again, I'm not recommending this because I work with herbs. Vitamin D, yes, I recommend, but the calcium I try to compensate with herbs and nutrients. There is a little broader context of how you can go with preventative guidelines for bones. We said about the food rich in calcium. If you would like to eat dairies, I told you what to do. Also, broccoli has a good amount of calcium, cauliflower, salmon, tofu, sesame seeds, almonds, leafy greens. Then you can eat foods that contain plant estrogen, like the tofu and the soy products. Now, there is a lot of controversial about tofu and soy. If you don't overdo it, it's not going to harm you. If you buy products that are made with traditional ways, they are made in Asia, Japan, then you're safe. But again, you don't eat tofu and soy every day. Then we avoid foods that can interfere with the absorption of calcium, and these are the soft drinks, the red meat. The red meat has to be very well planned. I love red meat, I consume red meat, my husband too, but we plan the consumption of red meat. Also, excessive amounts of alcohol and caffeine, for the reason that caffeine is diuretic and drives the calcium in the urine, and alcohol challenges the immune system enormously, including the brain. Smoking, I talked about this, and avoid antacid containing aluminum, as they can prevent calcium absorption by binding with phosphorus in the intestines. So I want to give you a high potency multiple vitamin and mineral formula. I also advise you that you should advise yourself with your practitioner, doctor, before you're taking this formula. So the calcium is about 800 to 1200 milligrams per day. The vitamin D is 400 units per day. Then you have magnesium, 400 to 800 milligrams a day, and boron as sodium tetrahydroborate, 3 to 5 milligrams a day. This is just for you to ask your doctor if you would like to go through this formula. Of course, rheumatoid arthritis, gout, bursitis and tendinitis, they all need attention, as the bones are directly responsible for those conditions. Well, I think that is all I wanted to talk about. I hope that I didn't miss anything. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments or just right now. Bore, thank you very much. I saw you watching. And I will see you next week. Don't forget, it's January. We do our plans, goals, resolutions. Because we are in this emotional state, we can take decisions now for our health. And if you would like to work with practitioner, now is the time to start. It's a very good actually time to start in the year because of the specific nutrition we have, dense nutrition that the body can take quite a lot of load. And call me if you need me. Thank you.
Join our Healthy and Community Facebook group. If you have any questions, please free to comment below. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more.